All right, so I got a comment the other day. Did God predestine the rape of a child? Now, this type of question is usually asked by atheists, like, oh, is this really part of God's plan? All these bad things happening in the world? And the answer is like, yeah. But there are also people who hate Reformed theology, and then they ask me this type of stuff. Did God predestine this specific bad thing to happen? Because they don't like the word predestined, but they do like, God's plan, because that's not as specific and not quite as offensive. But we do see in Acts chapter 4, truly in this city there were gathered together against your holy servant Jesus, whom you anointed, both Herod and Pontius Pilate, along with the Gentiles and the people of Israel, to do whatever your hand and your plan had predestined to take place. Okay, so the crucifixion of Jesus Christ was predestined. It was a planned event by God. God literally planned for the Jews and the Romans and Judas and, the disciples, like literally all of the pieces that were there. God planned for all those things to happen. It was literally used as the word predestined here. And again, Ephesians chapter 1, verse 11, God works all things according to the counsel of his will. So does this all things mean all things? I think it does. Whatever has happened in the past and whatever will happen in the future is literally a part of God's plan. It's all his will. Now, a lot of people don't like the idea of that. And unfortunately, there's a lot of Christians out there who don't like that idea. But of course, it would be horrible to find out that the God of the universe didn't actually plan for these things to happen. Imagine God, just like he sees something bad happen. He's like, oh, man, gosh, I didn't mean for that to happen. Like, what? You are omniscient. You are all powerful, right? Like, nothing in time should surprise you, okay? So it should be a comforting thing knowing that God has everything under control. Now, I do have to point out that some people assume that what this teaching is that God is forcing people to do evil things. Like, there's some good-hearted people out there, but God's making them do evil things for his plan. That's not true at all. What actually happens is God gives them up to the lusts of their hearts, dishonorable passions. God just gives them up to their own desires, okay? See, humans are born with their own will. They get to do whatever they want to do. That's the essence of free will, okay? But at the same exact time, the human will is enslaved to sin. When you were slaves of sin, you were free in regard to righteousness, okay? When you're born, you have your own desires seeking to do your own will, okay? You're literally free. But obviously, selfish desires, that's not righteous. So free creatures do evil things willingly, and God is not the author of evil. But anyways, to end this video, we do see that as for you, when Joseph was sold into slavery by his brothers, he tells his brothers, 12 years later or whatever, as for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive as they are today. Okay, so every single evil thing that a evil person has done, yes, they meant it for evil, but God means their evil actions for good, okay? Now, does this mean that we are going to see the good in this life? How are we going to see this terrible thing that someone did? How is that going to work for good? How? I don't know. But we do know for a fact that God is good and is working all things according to the counsel of his will for the good of those who love him, okay? When the Jews and the Romans, when Judas betrayed Jesus, they meant those actions for evil, but all those things happened for the redemption of mankind. The death of the Son of God on the cross was the worst evil humans could have done, but it turned out to be the greatest win in human history. Isn't that amazing?